Welcome to another episode of How to Live Your Brilliant Life with Dr. Paul Martin. So, today I want to talk about the frequency of chiropractic care. One of the complaints that we hear sometimes, but sometimes from within the profession, sometimes from without the profession, is like, why do I have to come so frequently, so often? Why do you want me to come even when I don't have pain? And so I wanted to talk about that a little bit today. And just because I say this doesn't mean you have to come frequently. And different chiropractors have different approaches and different opinions, but this is how I see it. So once you start going, this is the thing I hear. Once you start going, you have to go for the rest of your life, and really you don't. I mean, you get to make your own choices, and this is how it works. Sometimes one adjustment can have a really profound effect on somebody, and they may feel as if they never need to get adjusted again. That happens. It's not usually how it happens, but that does happen sometimes. See, and if chiropractic worked on the premise of there's just a bone out of place and we're shoving it back in, that might make more sense. But it's not that simple. You see, chiropractic actually works on the theory that when we encounter stress will store in our system, and the system kind of distorts under that stress when we don't fully adapt to or integrate it. And then those patterns that form in the body can actually create misalignments in the vertebra, create tension on nerves, create tight muscles, ligaments, through the fascia, all of that kind of thing. And that interferes with the function of the nerve system and the rest of the function of the body. Now, these are patterns. These aren't just anomalies. They don't just like show up and it's out of place and that's the one thing that's out of place. It's holographic through the entire system. And so, like I said, sometimes one adjustment, bam, whole thing gets taken care of, and that's great. But that's not usually the way it works. Usually it takes a period of time. Each adjustment allows the body to make changes to keep furthering it along this path until you get to the point where you're not symptomatic anymore, which is just getting out of crisis care. It takes time for people to get to these places, whether the trauma is a huge amount of trauma that we have to integrate eventually, or little bits of trauma over time, like postural changes or bad lifting mechanics or emotional stress or whatever it is, creates these subluxation patterns over time. Now, once you get out of pain, that's great. And so it's kind of like exercise. It takes incremental things to keep you going the right direction, and then you can eventually get out of pain. And once you get to that point, then the frequency can decrease with care. But it still requires a repetitious nature. It still requires something to keep that momentum going if the goal is to go beyond that point. I've talked in other videos about why we still adjust even without pain. And it really has to do with the idea that pain, or I should say absence of pain, is not the goal of chiropractic care. Just getting people out of pain. Chiropractic is about helping you be your best self by getting an adjustment and allowing the nerve system to fully communicate with the whole body. You get to be your best self. You get to have your body function more closely to optimal. That's the idea, more closely to optimal. I don't know that that's a state that we can ever fully achieve. I feel like it approaches it. Are you guys familiar with it? Like an asymptotic curve where every adjustment gets you a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better, and it just keeps getting closer and closer and closer. If you were to zoom in, that space would just get smaller and smaller, but never actually quite get there. It's kind of like if you always cut something in half, you never actually reach zero. And so it can continue to get better and better. And that's in an ideal scenario where you are not encountering stress all the time. And let's face it, you are always encountering stress. I'm always encountering stress. Whether, I'm sitting right now and that's a stress. And I exercise and that's a stress. And I have emotional stresses, and so I get adjusted weekly. And so, see, because chiropractic isn't about fixing you. It's not about curing you. Chiropractic's job, by delivering the adjustment and restoring function of the nerve system, is to help you connect to that part of you that wants you to be healthy, so that you can be your best self. That's how you live a brilliant life, by being your best self all the time. So, that it begs the question, is there ever a time when you wouldn't benefit from a chiropractic adjustment? In my opinion, there's not. There's no time when you wouldn't benefit from a chiropractic adjustment. There are some that are delivered incredibly gently, so even if you're on death's door, an adjustment can help. The only time I can think of is when you're dead. Because when you're dead, there's no life force there. There's no life. So if you're alive, if you have a nerve system, If you've got a spine, you can benefit from getting adjusted. And that's really why I advocate for wellness care. That's why I advocate for people to continue to come back even when they're out of pain. Because for me, the adjustment is about being your best self. You can't do that when your nerve system's not connected. You cannot be your best self when you're subluxated. Let's help you be your best self. Let's get you there. It's about optimal health. All right, this is Dr. Paul Martin reminding you to live a brilliant life. You deserve it. Let it shine.